Right now, on a website called GitHub, there is a file. It's free, it's public, and it contains everything you need to break into any iPhone made in the last 6 years. Not a theoretical vulnerability, not a proof of concept, a complete weaponized exploit kit, with comments left in the code by its original developers explaining exactly how each stage works. The files are written in basic HTML and JavaScript. A security researcher downloaded it on a Monday afternoon and used it to hack an iPad within hours. No special equipment, no specialist knowledge. In the words of the researchers who discovered it, the exploits work out of the box. There is no iOS expertise required. But here's what makes this story genuinely unprecedented. This tool wasn't built by criminals. It wasn't built by hackers in a basement. Parts of it were built by a division of a United States defense contractor for use by American intelligence agencies and their closest allies. It was one of the most classified offensive cyber weapons in the Western arsenal. And now anyone can download it. This is the story of how two of the most powerful iPhone hacking toolkits ever created went from classified government programs to the open internet, and why up to 296 million devices are still vulnerable right now. To understand how we got here, you need to know about a company most people have never heard of. L3 Harris Technologies is a defense contractor headquartered in Melbourne, Florida. They build everything from night vision goggles to satellite communication systems for the US military. Annual revenue over $20 billion. But buried inside L3 Harris is a much smaller, much quieter division. It's called Trenchant. Trenchant doesn't build hardware. Trenchant builds hacking tools. Specifically, they build exploit chains, sequences of software vulnerabilities that, when triggered in the right order, can take complete control of a target's device. Their specialty is iPhones. Their customers are the United States government and the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, the UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. Nobody else. That's the rule. If you've ever heard of the San Bernardino iPhone case, where the FBI needed to crack a terrorist's phone and Apple refused to help, it was a company called Azimuth that eventually broke in, using a tool they called Condor. Azimuth was later acquired by L3 Harris and folded into Trenchant. These are the people who build the tools spy agencies use when they need to get into a phone and there is no other way in. And the toolkit they built, the one that contained 23 separate exploits across 5 complete attack chains, covering every iPhone model from 2019 to late 2023, was internally codenamed Coruna. The individual exploits had bird names: cassowary, terrorbird, bluebird, sparrow. It was, by every measure, one of the most sophisticated iPhone hacking platforms ever built. And it was never supposed to leave the building. Now, here's where it starts to go wrong. In February 2026, a man named Peter Williams was sentenced to 87 months in federal prison. Williams wasn't a hacker. He wasn't a foreign agent. He was the general manager of Trenchant, the person in charge of the entire operation. Between 2022 and 2025, Williams stole at least 8 zero-day exploits from his own company and sold them to a Russian exploit broker called Operation Zero. The price, approximately $1.3 million, paid in cryptocurrency. According to prosecutors, the tools he sold could be used against any victim on Earth, civilian or military, to conduct espionage, theft, or surveillance. And this is the part that should concern you. Operation Zero didn't buy those tools to collect them. They bought them to resell. Within months, the exploits Williams stole began appearing in active hacking campaigns. First in the hands of Russian intelligence, then Chinese cybercriminals, then commercial surveillance vendors in Turkey and the Gulf. A weapon built for the most classified operations on the planet was now circulating on the black market. And nobody at L3 Harris noticed for 3 years. But here's where the story gets stranger, because Coruna didn't just end up with one group. It ended up everywhere. In 2023, Russian cybersecurity firm Kaspersky discovered something alarming. Thousands of iPhones inside Russia, including phones belonging to diplomats and government officials, had been silently compromised by a sophisticated attack they called Operation Triangulation. The exploits were so advanced that Kaspersky's own researchers described them as non-trivial. Russia's Federal Security Service, the FSB, publicly accused the NSA of being behind it. When Google's threat intelligence group later analyzed Coruna, they found the connection. 2 of the exploits inside the toolkit, codenamed Photon and Gallium, targeted the exact same vulnerabilities used in Operation Triangulation. The code overlapped, the techniques matched. Kaspersky confirmed it independently. Let me put that plainly. A tool built by an American defense contractor, intended for use by Western intelligence, was used to hack Russian phones. And now that same tool was in Russian hands, being used against Ukraine. Former Trenchant employees told journalists they recognized their own work immediately when Kaspersky published its findings. The internal reaction was, in the words of one source, shock. They believed at least one of the exploits had been ripped out of the project that included Coruna, and that was just the beginning. Google tracked Coruna's journey across 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, early 2025. A commercial surveillance vendor used it to hack a phone on behalf of an unnamed government customer. Targeted, controlled, exactly what the tool was designed for. Phase 2, summer 2025. A Russian espionage group designated UNC6353 deployed Coruna against Ukrainian targets. They embedded the exploit inside hidden frames on compromised Ukrainian websites, everything from industrial equipment retailers to local e-commerce shops. One of the delivery sites was an official Ukrainian government web address, ending in .gov.ua. If you visited any of these sites on an iPhone, your device was silently compromised. No click required, no warning, no trace. Phase 3, late 2025 into 2026. A Chinese cybercrime group designated UNC6691 took Coruna, a tool originally built for intelligence gathering, and modified it to steal cryptocurrency. They scattered the exploit across hundreds of fake crypto trading and gambling websites. iVerify, the mobile security firm tracking the campaign, estimated that at least 42,000 devices were compromised in this phase alone. They called it the first known mass iOS attack in history. From American intelligence tool to Russian espionage weapon to Chinese crypto theft operation, in under 12 months. If Coruna was the warning, what came next was the catastrophe. In November 2025, Google's researchers detected a second exploit kit, entirely separate from Coruna, but following the same proliferation pattern. They called it DarkSword. And DarkSword was worse. Coruna could hack iPhones running iOS 13 through 17.2.1, old software released before December 2023. DarkSword targeted iOS 18.4 through 18.7, software released as recently as September 2025. That's not legacy devices, that's current phones people are carrying right now. DarkSword was deployed by multiple threat actors almost simultaneously. A suspected Russian group targeted Ukrainian users through compromised websites. A Turkish commercial surveillance vendor called Pars Defense used it against targets in Turkey and Malaysia. Saudi Arabian users were targeted through a fake Snapchat website. The attacks spanned 5 countries within weeks. The exploit chain used 6 vulnerabilities, 3 of which were 0 days. Once triggered, DarkSword deployed one of 3 payloads, codenamed Ghostblade, Ghost Knife, or Ghost Saber, that could access your contacts, messages, call history, location data, photos, calendar, notes, health records, SIM information, cryptocurrency wallets, Safari browsing history, and your iOS keychain. That's every saved password and Wi-Fi credential on your device, all of it uploaded silently to a server controlled by the attacker. And then, on March the 23rd, 2026, someone uploaded DarkSword to GitHub. This is the part that changes everything. The leaked files are uncomplicated. HTML and JavaScript. A security hobbyist who goes by the handle Mathieu downloaded the code and tested it. Within hours, he'd used it to hack an iPad mini running iOS 18. He posted the results publicly. It worked exactly as described. Matthias Freilingsdorf, the co-founder of iVerify, one of the firms that had been tracking DarkSword since November, said what every security researcher was thinking. This is bad. They are way too easy to repurpose. I don't think that can be contained anymore. We need to expect criminals and others to start deploying this. The exploits work out of the box. There is no iOS expertise required. Justin Albrecht, a principal researcher at Lookout, confirmed it. DarkSword is, in his words, essentially plug and play. Here's why that matters at scale. iPhone exploits have historically been among the most expensive to develop. A single 0-day chain costs millions of dollars. That expense kept these weapons in the hands of nation-states, governments willing to spend $5 million on one target because the intelligence value justified it. But once the exploit is free on GitHub, the economics collapse completely. Suddenly, the same tool that Russian intelligence used to spy on Ukrainian officials can be deployed by a teenager in a bedroom to steal crypto wallets. The barrier to entry hasn't been lowered. It's been removed entirely, and the scale of exposure is staggering. According to iVerify's analysis of Apple's own device data, approximately 221 million iPhones are still running iOS versions between 18.4 and 18.6.2, the exact range DarkSword targets. Some estimates put the total number of vulnerable devices, including those running older iOS versions exploitable by Coruna, at close to 300 million. That's not a niche problem. That's a global one. So what does this mean for you? Specifically, if your iPhone is running anything older than iOS 26.3.1 or iOS 18.7.6, you are potentially vulnerable right now. Not theoretically, not in a lab. In the real world, where compromised websites are already serving these exploits to anyone who visits them. Apple has issued emergency patches. They've pushed updates to iOS 15 and 16 to protect older devices that can't run the latest software. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, has added the DarkSword vulnerabilities to the list federal agencies are required to patch. But patches only work if people install them, and millions of people don't update their phones for weeks, sometimes months. DarkSword steals your keychain. That's every password your phone has ever saved. Your email, your banking app, your work VPN, your Wi-Fi networks, your health data. It doesn't need you to click anything. It doesn't need you to download anything. You visit a compromised website in Safari, and by the time the page loads, it's already happening. Apple recommends enabling lockdown mode if you believe you may be targeted. Coruna is specifically programmed to detect lockdown mode and abort the attack rather than risk detection. But lockdown mode restricts your phone's functionality significantly, and most people don't know it exists. Here's what this story is really about. It's not about one exploit or one leak or one rogue employee who sold secrets for cryptocurrency. It's about a pattern that keeps repeating. In 2017, the NSA built a Windows exploit called EternalBlue. It leaked. Within weeks, the WannaCry ransomware attack crippled hospitals, factories, and government systems in over 150 countries. Billions of dollars in damage. The weapon built to protect national security became the weapon that threatened it. Now it's happened again. Except this time, the target isn't Windows computers sitting in offices. It's the device in your pocket. The one with your fingerprint, your face scan, your location history, your private messages, your banking credentials, your health records, and your entire digital life stored on it. And the weapon that was supposed to protect you is now free to download by anyone who wants to use it against you. Update your phone. Do it now, before someone else makes that decision irrelevant.